あのさ、好きだ。
Hello everybody, welcome back. It's Tyler. We're out here working on another Sims 4 speed build. Hope y'all doing alright today. Today I watched a very sad documentary about internet guys. I laid in bed, I'm drinking a Java chip frat my sister bought me. I'm what you might call living the dream. Hope you guys are living the dream too. And today I am out here in beautiful Sulani once again, working on my next Sims 4 speed build. So, last one I worked on in Sulani was a modern house. This time I wanted to shake it up, do something a little different. I still can't get enough of these island living objects, furniture, things. But, I haven't had the opportunity to use some of the more, traditional, handmade, kind of looking craftsy looking ones. All the modern stuff's pretty cool, but it's like a whole other world of objects I haven't used yet. So, what I decided to do is I am building what I call the Conservationist Outpost. This is a home that I built for a sim named Autumn Kahale. Autumn Kahale is like the island's resident nature-y guy. He's a conservationist, right? He lives out here in this little shack that he built all by himself. It's handmade, everything. He built it up here in this caldera, right, out by the volcano. And what he does on the island is, he plants, he does a lovely little garden, and he spends a lot of his time, like, going around the island, cleaning it up. He cares a lot about nature. He's lived on the island all his life. With the new influx of tourists and, people with a lot of money, like that my one sim who built the modern house on the reef. These people are like Autumn's enemies, right? What he wants is to make sure that the island retains a lot of its natural beauty. And that there's a lot of pressure right now of, development and the tourism industry. There's a lot of pressure on the island to change. And so he's the one sort of fighting on the front lines to keep it as beautiful and natural, keep that ecology, keep it nice, keep it normal. So that's what he does. He is kind of bro-y. He walks around all day in his sandals and his like open flower shirt. He loves being outdoors. He loves gardening. Maybe like a little eccentric, but he's a good dude. He's a really good dude. He loves like diving and swimming, and he's super active, and yeah, he's like pretty cool, like a little crunchy. That's what I kind of imagined for his house. So his house that I'm working on right now is really, really simple. It is just like a one room stilt house, thatched roof and everything, and it is off the grid. So that means it's not connected to plumbing or electricity, anything like that. So everything that I use on the lot is off the grid functional. So I like to imagine that he built this house all by himself. He built it with his own two hands. So I wanted it to be honestly like a little messy. You'll see that sort of like the center portion of the house is made of like straw, and the walls are like kind of this woven straw sort of texture, and there's a lot of wood. But then on the right side of the house is this like extension made of these white wooden planks and this sort of like blue corrugated metal roof. The same goes for the little like balcony overhang type thing on the left side of the house. I wanted the whole house to have to not be like one sort of texture. I wanted to sort of look like it was built piece by piece, right? First that centerpiece came on, then he needed to like extend the part for a bed, so he built the part on the right, and then he wanted like an overhang and this little balcony, so he built the part on the left, and then he built this outhouse right here. It's got a different wood texture and a different roof color, and I wanted to sort of look like he it was just like a very natural occurring, he kind of worked on it as he needed. It's very ad hoc, right? He worked on all the parts of this house as he needed them. So yeah, it does look it's a little like hodgepodge, right? Which is totally the idea. I wanted the yard to look a little bit messy. I wanted there to be like boxes all over and crates and like storage things and bags of fertilizer for his garden and like tchotchkes and just things just kind of all over the place. I wanted it to be kind of overgrown, so I put a lot of these plants that I got in debug. The plants from Island Living are just like awesome. They're so wonderful. They're like these big banana leaf type things and these cool grasses and these palm trees. I found one palm tree with like lights that string around it, so it kind of looked like, you know, the palm tree was there and he decorated it with some lights. I wanted it all to look very, you know, very natural, very built into the environment, very handmade, a little shacky, because that's kind of the vibe I have for this guy, right? He lives totally off the grid. He's not connected to electricity. You know, he lights his house with candles, and he, you know, grows all of his own food, and he's got that little wash line out there where he hangs his clothes to dry. He washes them in, I don't know, a bucket. Like, it's, you know, he's roughing it, right? He's seriously roughing it. So, I think the biggest and most important part of this house is going to be the landscaping, because so many of the house spaces are very, very small. You know, I had to whip out a lot of really cool objects from debug to sort of like liven this lot up and make it sort of blend into the surroundings. So I've got all of those cool rocks right there. I fill the thing with grasses and trees, and I love those like all of those like sort of weird fence objects that they have in debug. There's the one that's like the guardrail that you kind of see on the highway. I imagine that he like, you know, like ran over to like the street and like ripped it up and like stuck it on his lot because he needed a way to sort of like, you know, make boundaries for his garden. You've got that sort of, I don't know what you call that other type of fence, that sort of like wire and metal pole thing that's kind of like collapsing, and you've got the million mailboxes. You know, it's all like sort of, it's all very unkempt and natural, and it's kind of what I wanted, right? I wanted it to look very, very handmade is the word that I keep coming back to. I can't stop saying that, but I wanted it to look handmade. So yeah, working on some landscaping here. Kind of went a little wild with all the debug plants. I also, because, you know, the Island Living like vibe, right, of the world is very flowery and very colorful. I wanted this lot to be really, really colorful. So I put a lot of different color flowers, and I used the different color roof tones. That door that you see on the outhouse, I really like that one. It's got like the different like painted, it looks like a sunset, right? I imagine that he like put this door in and then like painted it himself to sort of like liven it up a little bit. This lot is really like wonderfully colorful, and I think it like perfectly fits that sort of like, you know, islandy thing. You know, what I'm doing right here is I'm adding some plants to the garden. I went in the gallery and I found just a room that somebody had created full of perfect plants. So I just downloaded it, popped it in the game, and then just grabbed the ones from Island Living. I think I put, there's like a kava plant. There is taro, maybe. I don't know where taro grows. There's coconut, there's pineapple, there's, I think, bananas, stuff like that. So yeah, I wanted it just to be like mostly plants that would grow in the area. I imagine that he'd be eating a lot of his own food. All of his own food is like sort of grown, you know, locally, the stuff that grows on the island. Yeah, he's a big gardener, Mr. Autumn Kahala. He's a big gardener. He cares a lot about, you know, sustainable farming and stuff like that. He doesn't have the vegetarian trait, but I imagine he'd be eating a lot of veggies because he grows a lot of veggies. Yeah, so now working on the inside of his house, his shack. So it's very, very simple. Just one room. I sort of separated it into like a bedroom, a living room, and a kitchen area. No bathroom because there's the outhouse over that, you know, on the side near the garage. Not the garage, the garden. Jesus. This little, what do you call it? This like half wall trick I learned from a different YouTuber. I gotta find her name. She's also French, but she's not Belpent, the other one that I really like. I saw this tutorial for how to make these sort of like half wall surfaces, and I really liked them. I mean, I thought it was a really good way to sort of like fill up the space. I like to imagine that he like made this little built-in thing with like all the wooden planks and stuff that he had around, and yeah, I put a million plants all over the place. So many plants in this house. I put a lot of books and candles. I imagine, there's not really a lot else to do because there's no electricity in this house. So I imagine he'd be reading a lot. So I put books, next to his bed and behind the bed. And I put that little journal out there on the shelf. Some like wooden carvings. I like to imagine that in his spare time, maybe he likes to carve little wood things. And you'll see over by the outhouse, it's also sort of like a storage area for the garden. And I put the little woodworking table there too. Now I'm just working on this little living room space. I had like a nightmare of a time figuring out how to do the rugs in this thing. I wanted a lot of patterns, a lot of like textural difference in this house, because I wanted it to be like kind of fun and funky and colorful and playful. But I was using these rugs from Island Living, which I love, by the way. I love that sort of like mid-century texture right there. And this is what I end up using, these 2 rugs right here. But it took me such a long time because it really, really looked like a mess. Like I knew I wanted a lot of texture and color, but with too much texture and color, it looked like a mess. So I had to like tone it down a little bit. This is what I end up with. I think this is perfect. You know how I often try to find like one accent color when I'm working on my builds. This one I went with red. I don't know why. I thought of my sim and I figured red. So the bed has like a nice little, that sort of like corally color going on the blankets and the pillows, and then the big red rug and the sort of corally and maroon rug right under it. I have that one red curtain. I didn't put a curtain on the other one just because I liked how it looked. It looks a little messy, a little like asymmetrical. I thought that was cool. I popped in a bookshelf. I put a lot of art on the walls too. I'd like to imagine that all those paintings, they're not really paintings. All those like pictures, the picture frames of water and like ocean scenes and animals and stuff. Like I like to imagine he went out and took those pictures while he was doing his sort of like conservation thing. Maybe he goes out diving with a camera, and takes pictures of the animals and maybe like publishes books about them. Could be a cool way for him to make some money. Now you see I'm just making this little kitchen. It's super tiny. Obviously there isn't a lot of things that I could put in this kitchen because it is off the grid. So I put that stove, which is off the grid functional. I guess it's like a wood burning stove. You see all the logs under it. That sink is also off the grid functional. I have no idea how that would even work. I didn't bother to ask anyone, but I am very curious how a sink like that is off the grid if it's not connected to plumbing, but whatever. I put in this thing right here, the little postcard board. I like to imagine he's traveled a lot. So I put all those postcards from places that he's maybe been to. And the one thing that is missing that you will probably notice in this kitchen is a refrigerator. I couldn't find any refrigerators that are off the grid functional, which makes no sense. I feel like there's that one refrigerator that's like a sort of black, like, it looks more like a larder than a refrigerator. Like it doesn't, it's just like a storage area, that's like kept cool for food, but it's not like refrigerated. It's not electric powered. I thought that maybe that should be off the grid functional, but it's not. I feel like there should be something in the game, a refrigerator that's off the grid functional. I don't know what you guys do when you build your off the grid houses. If your Sims like have refrigerators, let me know. Maybe there's something I could learn in that respect. Building an off the grid house was kind of a cool challenge for me. I found it really hard to figure out how to light this space up. I got to use a lot of different candles, which is cool. I really like the color of the light in the house when it's dark out and all the candles are lit, but it really is. I rely a lot on those sort of overhead lights to light up my space, and it was tough to figure out how to do it without them. Now I see I'm just working on this area outside, the sort of balcony area. I thought it'd be a cool little like dining space, little hangout area. You see I put that one chair it looks like it was like handmade by someone who's really, really bad at carpentry. The same goes for one of the end tables in the living room. I like to think that he builds a lot of his own furniture when he has the time. I put a guitar in there. I like to think that he's also a little musician. I imagine him sitting by the fire and like playing songs on his guitar and like just singing at night. It sounds kind of nice, just adding a couple bit more decorations to the wall. I put a little chessboard out there. That's because for the conservation not skill job, what do you call it, conservation occupate job, whatever, The career, there it is, career. The conservation career in the game requires logic, and usually I guess what your sim can do is like do research on a computer, but because this house is off the grid functional, I didn't put it in a computer, so I put a chessboard so that he could practice his logic skill using the chessboard. Now you see I'm working on the little outhouse storage area. I put that outdoor shower, which I think is awesome. That little tiny room in there has the toilet, which is off the grid functional. It's the sort of like wooden weird one, and the sink, and then just a couple of like, you know, clutter items, a little bathrobe, some towels. Right there you see I put that woodworking table. I'd like to think that he does a lot of woodworking in his spare time. I think it'd be a cool way for him to decorate his space. It would make sense that he was good at woodworking because he built his own house, you know, out of wood and all of his own furniture. So maybe he could like do a couple little sculptures out of wood there while he's, you know, got some free time. Just adding some finishing touches to the bathroom, putting some clutter items, some books, you know, on the toilet seat so he could like read while he's in there, and you know, some little gardening items and some bags of fertilizer, just kind of make the whole space look alive. And then this is the very last part of the build. I've got this little like wood coal, you know, fire pit for him to do a lot of his cooking outside. And yeah, a little space for a picnic table, and that's about it. Yeah, it's a pretty simple build. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys are staying safe, and let's check out some screenshots. Have a good one, you guys.